For all intents and purposes, the following recordings are fictional. If it wasn't, Gregory would be in a lot of trouble with the council. This is a real American wizard in a hypothetical wizarding world. Now let's turn our seeing stones and scry upon the orb.
We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful wizard, the wonderful wizard. Say, cut it up, whiz, cut it up. Say, cut it up, whiz.
The goblins tried to kill me, the hellhounds can't reach me. Your hag wants me, and your trolls can't stop me. Welcome back to another episode of The Orb, the podcast for wizards, by wizards, for magic users, by magic users. My name's Greg. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for looking into your orb. Thank you for listening through your seeing stones. Man, today has been wild. I was going to buy a couple black soul gems from the Great Marketplace, and I got stopped up by a couple gnomes. And I don't know if they were colorblind or what, but they did see my hat, and they saw it was pointed, they saw my beard, and they started casting little gnome spells. And luckily, because of my previous interactions with gnomes, I have, I usually have a gnome ward up, but they would get madder and madder the more times I didn't do an irresistible dance that they had cast on me, because they wanted to see, me ridiculed. They don't understand how powerful I am. I realize that, but it truly it upset me, man. Cuz I've got a beard, I've got a pointy hat, sure, right? It's not red though. It's not red for a reason, cuz I'm not a gnome. I just happen to have a pointy hat and a beard. I wanted to kill those gnomes. I wanted to full fireball those three gnomes who were stacked on top of each other. I hate those gnomes. Sometimes I prefer the British gnomes, the UK gnomes. Those are stupider, and they don't wear the hats. They can't cast spells on you. North American gnomes, whoo, they'll try everything in the book. You know how long it took me to find the tome for resist gnome dance? It was like 3 months. I've met one or two gnomes that were cool. You kind of have to, if you want to deal in mushrooms, you have to get good with the gnomes. So there's like one or two colonies of gnomes that I'm cool with. The other ones, they can all go pull on Dwarik's left arm for all I care. If you do find an especially dumb colony of gnomes, though, you can benefit from it, right? Because you'll go to a dumb colony of gnomes, be like, "Hello, I'd like to do trading with you, gnomes." And then what you've done is you've gone to a Safeway, a non-magic Safeway, and you bought up all the chanterelles, all the button mushrooms that you can find there for about $30. I mean, you clear out their stock, you bring them to those gnomes, they'll give you gems of all different shapes and sizes. They've mined them up because all they want are mushrooms. They're mushroom heads. They're little psychedelic dummies, and they can't tell the difference between psilocybin and morels. They're stupid. Unless you're Stinker Poop, because he's a cool guy. Stinker Poop, great gnome. I like him a lot. He knows the difference. Once I got about 30 citrine out of $30 of mushrooms. That's crazy. You know what you can buy with 30 citrine? It's a lot. Enough vamping from me, though. I did get a murder of ravens coming to my door, all with different scrolls, questions that need answering, as we do here at the Orb. And let's get started with the first one. Let's see. This is from Grognak, the Great, would I be able to become immortal without a Horcrux, Philosopher's Stone, or vampirism? Yes, first of all, yes, there is. There is a problem with the conceit of this question that, like, it's very limited. Like, it seems like you only. You don't know a lot of magic. There's tons of magic that can make you immortal. First of all, Horcruxes, stupid. Dumb. You can still be killed. It just makes it more difficult. Horcruxes, stupid. I don't like them. They're just like it's an easier way to become a lich, kind of, without a lot of the benefits of it, right? And you do, like, rip your soul in half instead of, like, capturing your own soul within something, right? So instead of ripping your soul out of your body and still having your soul can still do things, right? It's now ripped into another mundane object that, like, any proper sorcerer would know how to destroy. Horcruxes are dumb. They're just, like, inefficient, really. That's it. They're just inefficient. Philosopher's Stone, that's pretty good. If you can do it, you do have to drink every single day. You have to drink the elixir of life, which, like, I do that now. I'm not immortal. I just can live as long as I have enough soul gems to pay for my elixir of life habit. You can try and make one. You might need the elixir of life to extend your life, to have the skill to be able to make it. But you could make the Philosopher's Stone. It's only been made 3 times, but, you know, give it a try. I'm never going to discourage someone from doing that. I love to see a new startup, a new Philosopher's Stone startup wherever I can. I'll invest. Hey, man, you find the Philosopher's Stone, you create one, you synthesize one. I will give you 4 diamonds to start your journey. Just, hit me up at the Grand Exchange, and I will make sure that, you get on your way. As long as you can show me some proof that you have, like, some important documents. And, it'll come back at a rate once you do invent it. Then, you'll have to pay back some interest. But, or vampirism. Will I be able to become immortal without vampirism? I do think vampirism is underrated, especially if you find the right vampire. Your vampire sire is going to determine how good your time is as a vampire, right? It, like, if you get a bad one, then, the next 200 years are going to be kind of tough. Also, if your vampire sire dies, you die. Oh, man. What if he's a really bad dude and you can't get away from him? Sheesh. That is immortality with a douche, which I would not wish upon my enemy. I knew Dracula a couple years ago. He's still haunting around Transylvania and stuff, and when I went out there, they said, "What's up?" Because I had some anti-garlic potions I had crafted, and he said, "What's up?" I said, "What's up?" He did try and bite me 5 times, 5 different separate occasions, right? He was showing me around the castle, and every time that I would, like, turn a corner, he would, like, pop out from the corner, and I was like, you led me into this new room. I saw you turn around and just cast a shield spell, and the sucky thing, though, is, like, the only shield spells that work in Europe is Protego, which is it's not even passive. That's the thing, is, like, the shield spells over there. I don't know, maybe they have to like invent some new shield spells, but it's not a passive spell, which is like the dumbest thing that you could do, right? Like the kind of restrictions they have over there. Protego every single time you need defense. Protego. I feel like that should be like a number on speed dial for them. They can't stop saying Protego, right? Some dude tries to hit you in the head. Protego. For anything. That's what they have to use. I mean, it's like not even like, ward against curses. It's just Protego. I hate Protego. I got pretty good at it, though, every time that because it has to be a really strong shield charm if you're defending against Dracula, the king of the vampires. I did get to meet Alucard, way cooler than his dad, right? Different abilities, too. Alucard's a cool guy. I would become a vampire if Alucard offered, but also, he can go in the sun, his dad can't. So I would hope to get that ability as well. It's crazy naming your son the reverse year. It's worse. It's Alucard being named Alucard because it's the reverse of Dracula. That's worse than me naming my baby daughter Greg Jr., right? Imagine me naming my baby daughter Gurg. Stupid. Gurg? Yikes. Gurg, like the leader of a clan of giants? Terrible. Not like Alucard means anything different, but that's a yikes from me, dog. Gurg. I should start announcing myself like that. Greg the Gurg. They're like, what? What? Greg the Gurg. What giant clan are you leading? I don't know. My giant muscles. Yeah. I've been hitting the gym, right? Wizard gym. Really? I mean, like, you in order to, like, really work out your muscles, because what a lot of these people don't realize is spellcasting is a very physical, like, difficult thing to do. So you have to be actively casting spells while you're lifting the weights to kind of add on to the resistance. And it's hard to find a gym that will let you cast Fireball as you're lifting a couple 45s. It is fun casting fart spells while you're squatting. That, I think, is one of my prime joys when lifting weights. Go to your YMCA and you find a large bearded man who's squatting. They're probably casting a fart spell. Luckily, they might use one that doesn't have a direct smell component, but they might be, casting, a spell of strength, a transfiguration of muscles spell out of their farts, so that they can, build that resistance, right? Only way to get stronger as a wizard. Your wizard muscles are important, as well as your physical muscles. Next scroll. What is the quickest way to regen mana? In parentheses, not potions, they make my tummy sick. Okay, so either you've been afflicted with rot gut, or you might be a non-magical person who is on their way to learning magic, and you have Crohn's disease. If that is the case, I am sorry about your Crohn's, not Crohn's disease, like the disease that Crohn's and hags have, but Crohn's disease with an H. I've heard about a couple non-magical medications, main one being Skyrizi, which doesn't sound like a non-magical medication. It doesn't sound like Percocet, which, fun time, if you know the remove addiction spell. It doesn't sound like a real medication. It sounds like a spell that a 13-year-old would make up. Skyrizi, right? It sounds like a slang that a Twitch streamer would use. This dude's got a lot of Skyrizi. But, if you got Crohn's disease, maybe take Skyrizi. I'm not a doctor. You don't see a beak coming out from my mouth, so, I'm not like a bird folk who specializes in medicine. Yikes. No. If you want, I cannot cast remove sickness. I'm just not that good at healing medicine personally, but find the right healer. Find a surgeon's mask kind of dude, and maybe he'll be able to fix your Crohn's disease. That really sucks because I was going to suggest some of my favorite potions. I'll do that for other people, and then I'll do non-potion mana regen ways. My favorite potion is just like a quick mana potion, right? Distilled from the ichor of certain slugs and a little bit of fairy dust. You gotta have a good relationship with your local fairies, because you're gonna need the mana potion pretty quick. But here's the thing about mana potions: you kind of have to switch up what method of mana addition you're using, because you will get a resistance to it, and you have to think about that. It's going to be a long-standing issue if you only have a huge stockpile of fairy and slug quick mana potions. You're going to build up a resistance, and at a certain point, they're just not going to give you much anymore. You'll drink 2 and not even be able to cast a light spell, right? So that that sucks. So you got to switch it up. One of my other favorites is Mountain Dew. It's anything with caffeine and sugar, and I do think that Mountain Dew, the non-magic drink, does get you pretty juiced up to cast a spell. It's not as quick as a quick mana potion because it doesn't have any specific magic ingredients, but it is powerful, and you won't develop a resistance to you. I mean, you will, just not the magical effects of it. It'll help you boost your mana, but drinking that much caffeine and sugar will get you in a bad place. You're gonna have to do some wizard cardio, some sorcerer running, some enchanter biking. You gotta work off some of that non-magic energy. Quickest way to regen mana, not with potions. First thing, you could send a prayer up to a deity. Not my personal thing, right? You could, request aid, and they'll give you some mana. You could meditation. The monks are really big on this, right? You meditate. I haven't perfected this per se, but a quick, honestly, 30-second meditation. It's a really long time in battle. If you're in the middle of a fight between 2 paladins and a warrior and a rival spellcaster, yikes! You can't just meditate. But if you're in a non-battle scenario, meditation is a quick way to regen a lot of mana. Regen mana. You could also, if you have any artifacts or relics, some of them can give you a mana boost for a certain amount of time. That's pretty cool. I have one mana regen token. It's on my keychain, right? We got you gotta have a mess of keychains when if you're using any relics of any kind. But yeah, I use that. I just go click, and I get a boost of energy. It was pretty expensive though, so got that one off of eBay. But yeah, that's so breaking it down: meditation, prayer to a divine figure, and relics, artifacts. If you know of any others, let me know. I'm always looking for more knowledge. knowledge. And like the thing is, sometimes you don't need as much mana. Sometimes you don't. If you're using a scroll, you don't need the mana. If you're casting from a tome, you do need that much mana. But a scroll gets burned up immediately. The mana required to use a scroll was exerted when making the scroll. So, please, no one, if you're sending me a raven with a scroll, an actual spell scroll, please don't. I don't want a scroll being used while on this great program, while on the orb. I don't want that. So, no spells. Let's see what this scroll says. Okay, this is from Reggie. Shouts out Reggie. I hope that's a magical Reggie. What is your magic school of choice? I have talked about my penchants for necromancy. I have. But I dabble in all different sorts. Some have called me a wizard. Some have called me a conjurer. Some have called me an enchanter. Some have called me a sorcerer. And I think the adage, jack of all trades, master of none, all the times better than a master of one. I think that saying has to go remembered. I dabble in a lot of things. I would say I started out mostly with evocation. I was an evoker at very first, mostly just because I knew how to cast fireball at first. I went to my archmage and I said, "Hey, I know how to use fireball. Could you train me in the arcane arts?" So I started out in evocation, and then learn some things in illusion, learn some things in a little bit in restoration, transmutation, transfiguration. What's funny is like in the UK, someone can specialize in defense against the dark arts, right? Like that's not even like a magical school. Right? That's not evocation. That's not restoration, right? Restoration could be parts of restoration is the dark arts, right? Certain parts of evocation, that's the dark arts. So it's just like all these things mixed together to stop you from being hurt by all of these other schools of magic, where if you had just learned the generals of all the schools, you wouldn't need to worry about, defense, an entire curriculum. You can specialize in defense against the dark arts, when really they should have just invested more time in learning different wards and shield spells, right? They just have Protego. I was saying earlier. They just have Protego for everything, right? If you plane shift to the inheritance world, right, they have true name magic where like everything has a true name. Ooh, you gotta learn a whole nother language if you plane shift to there. But if you plane shift there and you learn all these different true names, you can have a ward for please don't let any dark wizard cast a bad spell on me, and that ward will work as long as you're powerful enough. And in the UK, all they have is Protego. Stupid. Dumb. Hate it. Protego. Yeesh. And like some, you can get like different levels of it. I do know, what's that guy's name? He looks like a gnome. He looks like an actual gnome. That guy in the UK, Fleetweek. I don't know. Is he French? Fleetweek. That's on Fleet Week. All right. Fleetweek, I think, did invent like Protego Infinitum, which is like a better shield spell and like can protect an entire building a little bit as a passive. But that's also like their master of charms, one of the best charms enchanters in all of those 3 islands. I don't know how many islands. And that's the best spell you got, is like protect a building from like oncoming barrages of spells. I don't know. You can get so much more granular with shield spells, protection spells. I think it's probably because the UK just has a history of attack and not defense, right? Yeesh. I would specialize more in protection magic if it wasn't so boring. I mean, I know a lot of other wards and spells for protection more than Protego, but you know, learning the rest, right? And like the tomes are so expensive because if one person knows all the protection spells, right? There's even a protection from aging spell. So like if you want to become, like a previous question, if you want to become immortal, that's a way. But that tome, I think, costs like 2 kingdoms worth of gold. So, right, like 2 Fort Knoxes full of gold, and that's how you would be able to buy that one singular tome. And I don't even know if the owner of that tome wants to sell it. You could just become so powerful that you write a new one, but if you can do that, then you wouldn't need the tome in the first place. I think you would be powerful enough to become a lich. That's the last thing. That's the last way that I would say, I enjoy becoming immortal, which I, hope to do one day. I'm looking forward to my lichdom. You do have to know your true name, which I totally do. And, I would love to become a lich. It's one of my aspirations. There is the whole, you can't cast fart magic and you can't eat or drink, but, way better than a Horcrux. You get so much more arcane power than if you just use Horcruxes. Yikes. Next scroll. What is your favorite chant? Is it medical or fortune or blessing chant? Favorite chant. And this question is from Ronalda. Thank you, Ronalda. My favorite chant would have to be by the great bard Lil Jon. This chant has gone up throughout all of like the non-magical world for a very long time, but it gets brought up every like 200, 300 years. Lil Jon the bard created it, about a millennia ago. Another immortal being, but Lil Jon, it's a what it is it's a chant of irresistible dance. But the chant goes shots, 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 everybody. So simple, so beautiful. And every time I have seen the chant used, it bewitches an entire room of non-magic folk. It's irresistible. It's a chant of irresistible dance, right? The bard Lil Jon doesn't even have to be in the room. They can just play a recording of Lil Jon through like a seeing stone or something, and an entire room gets wild. I once had this played at the Magic Tavern, the famous Magic Tavern, the first one, and had a great night with a couple hobgoblins, a couple trolls, and 3 mysterious witches, Salem witches, fought for it. They were crazy. So I got a lot of warts that night, I got a lot of warts that night. Man, Lil Jon, the bard, what a prolific and incredible bard. That is my favorite chant by far. By far. A lot of people really like, ones that get you in the mind, in the brain, and sometimes you need a chant that gets you in the body. It gets your mind in your body. Lil Jon, shots, 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 shots. Everybody. Immaculate. Let's go with the next question. Oh, this is stupid. This is stupid. They even burned out their name. They didn't want themselves being identified. This is a stupid question. Is your wand in 22 or 50 size? 50 caliber, I'm guessing. 22 caliber, right? The non-magic projectile casters. This is stupid. You think because I'm in North America, I use different calibers of wands? I mean, they have those. Sure, right? They took British wands and scaled them up. I use staffs. Which, if we're comparing that to a non-magic projectile shooter, it's like a howitzer. Okay? I got a big staff. I don't use teeny tiny little ones. Flipendo. I don't use those. I use a staff that I bang into the ground and it lights your village on fire. Stupid question. I don't use wands. To think that someone would think I use a 22 caliber? This is North America. We came here to not be governed by an entity. We came here to do good to our fellow man, to have some freedom, to love others, and not be captured by wand requirements. I don't have to go to one single wand maker in an entire country. I can make a staff myself that's so powerful Ollivander would cry. 22 caliber, you can do some cool things with, though. 22 caliber wand, it's precise. If I see an assassin, a magical assassin with a 22 wand, I'm out. Goodbye. I don't know. I'm not playing with that dude. No, because he's going to send a pebble through my neck. No matter what wards I have, right? Tiny, teeny, tiny. Whew. Do you know how much healing I'm going to have to do when he pierces my carotid artery? Ugh. It's going to take 3 bottles of the elixir of life if I can get it down my throat, if he doesn't also ruin my trachea. It's crazy. The way that you guys think that, like, North America enchanters, evokers, spellcasters are even close to UK freaking Dumbledorian wizards, Merlinian wizards. We're not even close. We left to get away from them, right? We left when they had a king. They don't even have a king anymore, and they're still lame. I got really angry this episode. I got angry at gnomes. I got angry at the British, per usual. Except for the Irish. What's up? Oh, this is a good one. Why is Boblin's Bombastic Brew, trademark, and Thunder Egg Brew a terrible combination? Whew, okay. Okay, good question. This is from Barboon. Barboon shouts out. Thunder Egg and Boblin's Bombastic Brew. We have to recognize that these come from 2 completely different sources. And first of all, you don't want to mix brews like that, right? A brew is a brew for a reason. The brew is done. If they were two different components, if they were two different potions, you could brew those together, and then that would be finished. But moving on. Boblin's Bombastic Brew comes from a specific group of goblins. Goblins. And Thunder Egg, right, that comes from kobolds, right? All kobolds fancy themselves as a kind of dragon, right? Every kobold thinks that they have this magic draconian lineage when they're just as devolved as goblins are, right? But they're two separate and distinct groups that don't like each other. They have different foods. They process things in different ways, right? Like a Boblin's Bombastic Brew gives a goblin like a increase in percentage in strength, right? And if a human drinks it, they get about half that while also reducing your intelligence. So, like, you have to understand that different brews are going to do different things for different types of creatures, right? You know, a goblin potion is going to make you more dumb where it might not to a goblin. And also, a Boblin's Bombastic Brew given to a kobold makes them weak and dumb, right? Whereas a Thunder Egg brew, that might give you some breath powers to a kobold. If a kobold drinks a Thunder Egg brew, they drink that, they might be able to shoot lightning out of their mouth, right? A human, I drink that, sparks, right? But a goblin who drinks a Thunder Egg brew, they're like going to be sick. They're going to only, like, the only spell coming out of their mouth is vomitus, right? That's it. They're just going to vomit, right? So both are kind of poisons to the other. You combine those two, and it makes it gives anyone both of the negatives combined, right? So if you combine a Thunder Egg brew and a Boblin's Bombastic Brew, combine those, you give that to someone, they both cast the vomitus spell nonstop, and they get a minus to their strength and intelligence. So, it might be a pretty good poison, now that you're talking about it. So why is it a bad idea? For that reason. But why is it a good idea? You're at a party. Your ex is there, right? And this is a varied party, a really varied tavern, right? They do have Thunder Egg and Boblins. You get the two of those, you mix them together in the back corner. Your ex is there with her new man, right? Her new dragonborn, right? He's huge. He's got muscles, right? He keeps talking down to you because he's a ranger, so he can cast some spells, but also like beats people up. What a brute, right? So you mix those together. You give it to him. Be like, dude, this is the best thing you're ever gonna have, right? I'm sorry, you're with my lady, you're with my maiden, and let's just let bygones be bygones, right, man? Let's let bygones be bygones. Here's this brew. He drinks it. Then you can beat up a vomiting dude. Hell yeah. Hexters, yes. Hellfire, yeah. So, I'm going to try that move next week. Yeah. Great idea. That's a great idea. Thunder Egg and Boblins, let's always combine those and give them to our enemies. This next scroll comes from, geez, man, you got to spend more money on Raven protectionism, because look at the state of this scroll. Come on, dude. I don't even know if that's Raven poop or not. This next question is from Grog. Grog and Grognak in the same episode. Cool. What sort of healing potions / spells do wizards really use? Prime, I've talked about it before, is the elixir of life. Does cost a lot of soul gems, so that's the best you can do. It can bring you back from almost certain death if you've been attacked by a wizard assassin. It can do all kinds of crazy things for you. It makes you jacked, right? The elixir of life. Look at this body, hell yeah, hellfire yeah. Look at this body, hellfire yeah. The elixir of life is really, I can't give enough money. I really wish I was sponsored by the elixir of life personally. But they don't. I don't think they really do sponsorships. They're kind of like that non-magic Rolls Royce. They're kind of like the Rolls Royce. They don't do any advertising, but everybody still wants it. I really wish. I wish it wasn't as popular, so that it was a little bit cheaper. Yeesh. What other healing and restoration things? I mean, like a simple heal spell is one of the first things you learn within the first year of being an apprentice to an archmage, which, like, that just heals you, like, 2 times as fast as a regular person heals a wound. So, you know, not as fun, but it helps. It'll save you from like a pretty bad, like a gunshot wound if you happen to be in the wrong part of North America, right? Rural parts. It'll heal that up quickly, right? It'll clot. So you cast that heal spell. It does take a good amount of mana. It's not really like efficient. You can, within the second year of an apprenticeship, you should be learning quick heal, which takes a lot more mana, but will boost you a lot more, and you don't have to constantly concentrate on it, which is really cool. I like that. I prefer it, honestly, because then you can do other things. You don't have to constantly be concentrating on the heal spell. So quick heal is great. I did once know a dude who would cast quick heal as well as regeneration, and then he learned from trolls troll regeneration, and you have to take a mana boost to do that, but he would cast all 3 in quick succession, and it kind of makes you invulnerable for a short amount of time. You could get attacked by a dragon for like 10 seconds. You would still go back up to full health. Like, he would attack you, and then you would quickly, right? It was crazy. It was one of the coolest things ever. He did die by that dragon 30 seconds later. But his thesis worked. So I am in correspondence with a couple trolls to try and learn troll regeneration, and then, I can hopefully patent that spell combo, right? Maybe I'll get into tome writing. Who can say, right? Maybe I'll name it Greg's Great Heal. That would be fun. What other healing spells? You have to know all different kinds of healing spells for diseases, right? You can just learn the general restoration, but if you want, to get into more complicated restoration things, you can, learn things having to do with specific diseases, right? Gut rot it's a pretty tricky. You can't just heal that with restoration. You have to learn a couple other things to heal gut rot. Restoration doesn't always cure everything. Like, you have to learn specifically cure blindness if you want to do cure blindness. They don't have a spell for cure deafness, which I think is a crime. I'm losing hearing in both ears, right? But that's life. That's one thing that the elixir of life can't fix. Even though I pay so much money for it. So if you want to get into restoration and you want to invent a restoration of hearing, you'll make a lot of money off of that from this guy in particular. There's all kinds of restoration. It's an entire school. I don't know what you want me to say. Not a great question, but a good question nonetheless. Let's see. Let's look at our final scroll. Let's see the last scroll of the episode. All it says is, do wizards get laid? Once I got laid when I went to Hawaii. They put a lay on you. And so, yeah, I guess wizards do get laid. This has been Greg. Thank you for coming to The Orb, the only podcast for wizards by wizards, for magic users by magic users, for spellcasters by spellcasters. Watch again. Have fun. Cast Fireball.
We love casting spells. This song is sponsored by the Shadow Government. Legalize nuclear bombs. Swag Messiah. Bees make